On today's episode of Notable New England, I'll share some interesting tidbits from around the area, including the exciting return of a beloved restaurant that's sparking nostalgia for many New Englanders. Then we'll explore the roots of a classic Thanksgiving song that traces its origin in the Berkshires. And later, I am joined by Esther Friedman, a Massachusetts licensed mental health counselor, expressive art therapist, musician, and the author of the book The Gentle Soul's Revolution, as we discuss finding calm amidst the holiday stress and the world's chaos. So grab a snack and something to drink, get yourself nice and cozy and relaxed, and let's chat. Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome to the very first episode of Notable New England. I'm your host, Gretchen B. I am a proud, lifelong New Englander. So I have to tell you, I have been thinking about doing a podcast like this for ages. I really love this area of our country, the people, the places, the stories, and yes, even the weather. So after a lot of procrastinating, I finally thought, what the heck, I'm just going to do this. Here we are. We're going to have a blast exploring the hidden gems and fascinating stories that make New England the amazing place it is. I was actually born and raised in Massachusetts, and I went to college in Boston. And I did take a brief detour to the state of Maine after college, but I came back to Boston because it was really pulling me back. I love living in a city atmosphere. These days, I'm across the river in Cambridge, and no, I don't pack my car and have it yet, okay? All right? In each episode, I'll be talking to people, exploring cool places, and discussing the things that make New England the special place that it is. So whether you're a local, a New Englander at heart, or if you're just curious about the area, I welcome you to the Notable New England family. So thank you for tuning in and joining me on this adventure. Whether you're here to reminisce, to reconnect, or to discover something new, I am so grateful to have you along for the ride. So let's get started. Okay, how many of you remember the Ground Round restaurant? I remember that they would give you popcorn and peanuts before dinner, and the floor would be absolutely littered in peanut shells and remnants of popcorn. It was the family spot for dining out for many New Englanders, and they also, if you recall, had this deal for kids that was called like Pay What You Weigh, and it's where kids' meals were priced based on their weight. Well, there is some exciting news out of Massachusetts. The Ground Round is making a comeback. According to Adam Bass at Mass Live, the chain, which once boasted over 200 locations, now only has 4 of them left. There's 3 in North Dakota and 1 in Ohio. But in January 2025, a brand new Ground Round is going to be opening in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts at the former Bauhinia restaurant located on 271 Grafton Street. Nachi and Joseph Shea are bringing it back to the community, and it was inspired by their fond memories of dining there. They had some really tough negotiations with the franchise, but they did end up securing the rights to the Shrewsbury location, and they're going to be featuring lunch and dinner. They will have a bar, and their goal is to, quote, combine the best of the classic Ground Round with today's modern efficiencies. And as Joseph Shea, one of the owners, puts it, quote, we're listening closely to our community to help families share their memories with the next generation. The new spot is slated to open the week of January 25th in 2025. So get ready for this classic comeback. That's going to be such a treat for a lot of people. So in some bittersweet news for those of you in Maine, Ethan Andrews from the Bangor Daily News reports that Uncle Henry's magazine, the iconic weekly Swap It or Sell It guide, has published its last issue as of November 14th. Now, actually, when I lived in Maine, I actually did buy a car from Uncle Henry's from one of their ads, and it did serve me well. It was wonderful. Uncle Henry's was this classified guide where you could find anything and everything, from boats to cars to antiques and appliances, everything you could imagine. Sadly, the company that printed the magazine has gone out of business, and despite the efforts to find a new printer, it looks like this is the end of the era for the print publication. They do still have a website up, last I checked. Not sure if that will continue, but the magazine will not be back in its print form, at least for now. So that's a big loss for sure. In Connecticut, there is some cool stuff going on in a local grocery store. You might get a glimpse of the future of shopping. According to a story on Fox 61's website, written by Jim Altman, Geisler's Market, which has 7 locations, they have stores in Connecticut and Massachusetts, they have rolled out something called Caper Carts, which are AI-powered shopping carts that make your grocery haul run smarter. These carts apparently have cameras that will scan the items as you add them into your cart. They do have a scale, which, weighs your produce. And they even have a screen that will show you coupons in real time. According to Bob Rybick, who is the CEO of Geisler's, quote, "It allows you to track your spend and see how much you're saving." And the best part, people seem to love this. Everybody from tech-savvy folks to folks who may not be as tech-savvy. Apparently, they're enjoying this interactive shopping experience. I would love to hear anybody who has shopped at Geisler's and what your experience with the Caper Cart was like. That sounds pretty cool. So, if you are a fan of Jumanji, the movie Jumanji, you are going to want to mark your calendars for next spring. Per an article from the Keene Sentinel, which was written by Sophia Kashmiri, New Hampshire is planning a Jumanji festival in honor of the film's 30th anniversary. A 3-day event is in the works, kicking off on April the 11th with a screening of the movie at the Colonial Theater. That is just the start, though. They're going to have apparently a scavenger hunt around town, a mock stampede down Main Street, and there's going to be a mural project that is focused on mental health, tying back to some of the themes in the film. Parts of Jumanji were actually filmed in Keene, so this festival is a true hometown celebration. Looks like they have a lot of support for this. I think they have to go through a couple of final hurdles with City Council, but it looks like it's going to be a go. So stay tuned for more information on that. I want to send a quick shout out to an amazing young person from Providence, Rhode Island. His name is Emilio Santana. He's 14 years old, and he was honored as a hero among us at a recent Celtics game. Emilio raised over $1,500 to create a wig for an 8-year-old girl who's battling cancer. He didn't stop there, though. He also donated 24 inches of his own hair. That's a lot of hair. Talk about going above and beyond. He is such a hero. This information comes from a news story by Raymond Bakari at WPRI 12's website. Vermont Public's Nina Keck reports that Killington Ski Resort in Vermont is gearing up for the Stifel Killington Cup over Thanksgiving weekend, November 29th through December 1st. The top female ski racers from 21 countries will be competing. Two-time Olympic gold medalist, six-time Stifel Killington Cup slalom winner, and winningest alpine skier in history, Michaela Schifrin, will be back. This would mark the 8th time Killington has hosted this international event. A percentage of all ticket sales benefit the Killington World Cup Foundation, which supports athlete team services and provides grants to bolster winter sports infrastructure and access to winter sports throughout the region. Up next, we're going to learn about the roots of a classic Thanksgiving song that traces its origin in the Berkshires. Stay tuned for more Notable New England after this short break. Support the Notable New England podcast on Patreon and help keep the stories flowing. Membership starts at just $2. That's less than your morning coffee at Dunk's. Your support covers production costs, fuels engaging new episodes, and helps ensure the podcast's long-term success. Plus, with tiered membership levels, you will get access to exclusive rewards that make your support even more special. Join the Notable New England community today and be a part of what makes this podcast possible. We couldn't do it without you. Visit patreon.com/Notable New England. That's patreon.com/Notable New England. Thank you for your support. It seems like every year the Christmas creep starts earlier and earlier. You know what I'm talking about. Before Thanksgiving, even as a chance to show up, stores are already decked out for Christmas. Christmas music is playing everywhere you turn. And, sure, there are plenty of Halloween songs, Monster Mash, Thriller, stuff like that. And of course, tons and tons and tons of Christmas songs. But can you think of any Thanksgiving songs? Most of you are probably scratching your head and thinking, I can't think of any. Well, guess what? There is a Thanksgiving song. And not only that, it has deep roots right here in the Berkshires. Today, we're going to dive into the history behind Alice's Restaurant Massacre by the great Arlo Guthrie. I wish I could play this song for you, but I cannot afford the royalty rights to it. So you're going to have to go onto one of the streaming platforms, go to your library. They have, old CDs and stuff like that probably have it. Or visit your local record store and get a copy of the song on vinyl, CD, tape, whatever. Alice's Restaurant Massacre is written by Arlo Guthrie, and many of you probably know he is the son of folk music icon Woody Guthrie. The song is really quirky, very, very funny, and somehow over the years it's become a Thanksgiving tradition for many people, especially here in New England. So here's the story. It's Thanksgiving Day, 1965. Young Arlo Guthrie, who is 18 at the time, is attending a holiday meal in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. The hosts of this are Alice and Ray Brock. They were both teachers at the Stockbridge School, which is a boarding school where Arlo had graduated. And the Brocks lived in a converted Episcopalian church. And this church that they lived in, this converted church they lived in, sort of became a haven and gathering place for young people, almost like a commune type of space from what I gather. So Arlo and his friend Richard Robbins decided to help the Brocks out by hauling some of their trash to the dump. According to a Berkshire Eagle 1965 article, quote, the junk included a divan, which is like a low sofa, plus nearly enough bottles, garbage, papers, and boxes to fill their Volkswagen bus. But when they got to the Stockbridge dump, it was closed. So the boys decided to dump the garbage down a hillside nearby. Richard Robbins had said in a USA Today article, quote, "The bottom line is we were a couple of dumb kids from the city and didn't know anything about dumps because in the city, a garbage truck comes and takes your trash away. Not to make any excuses, but we didn't know any better." So later that day, Alice Brock gets a call from Stockbridge police officer William Obenheim, and it turns out Obie had found the trash, and among this trash, there was an envelope that was addressed to the Brocks, so kind of gave up who threw the trash away. Alice fessed up, telling the officer that Arlo and Richard were the ones who had disposed of the trash. And Officer Obie was not the biggest fan of hippies and counterculture and that sort of thing, so he was not going to let this slide. He went and threw Arlo and Richard into jail. Alice apparently bailed them out, and they ended up going to court, and they were found guilty, and each of them had to pay $25, and then they got ordered to clean up all the trash. So a few years later, Arlo Guthrie was being drafted for the Vietnam War, but because of his littering conviction, he was declared, quote, morally unfit, unquote, for service. So years after the fact, Arlo turned this whole experience into his song Alice's Restaurant Massacre. And the song, which was released in 1967, became an instant hit, reaching number 17 on the Billboard charts. Arlo himself once said that he didn't write the song as a Thanksgiving anthem. It just happened to take place on Thanksgiving Day. And he told Rolling Stone in 2014, quote, "It's just one of those funny, crazy coincidences. If I go back and look at the hits to the website, they spike one day a year. I always thought, hey, if they're going to play one song of yours on the radio one day a year, might as well be the longest one you wrote." So the song is 18 and a half minutes. Many radio stations around the country and in New England play it every Thanksgiving. And at least in the Boston market, I believe it was a tradition started by Ken Shelton, who was a former WBCN radio disc jockey. In 1969, it was adapted into a movie starring Arlo Guthrie and directed by Arthur Penn called Alice's Restaurant. In 1991, Arlo Guthrie founded the Guthrie Center in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, at the site of the church where Alice and Ray Brock lived and where they had this Thanksgiving dinner and where Arlo and his friend, took their garbage and tossed it on the side of the road or down a hillside or whatever. It's now a nonprofit organization that supports various community programs. So there you have it, the tale of an unlikely Thanksgiving song, which was born out of a little bit of mischief in the Berkshires, and it's now become a beloved holiday tradition. So next time you hear Alice's Restaurant on the radio, you will know the story behind the song, and if you haven't heard it yet, now is the perfect time to take a listen to it. After this quick break, you're going to meet Esther Friedman, author of the book The Gentle Soul's Revolution, and we're going to talk about how to keep your cool, protect your peace, and all that good stuff this holiday season. You're listening to Notable New England. Connect with Notable New England on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube. If you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating. It's the best way to help others discover the podcast and join the Notable New England family. Thanks for your support. Now back to the show. Today I'm joined by Esther Friedman, a Massachusetts licensed mental health counselor, expressive art therapist, musician, and author of The Gentle Soul's Revolution. Her book shares her journey through a secret school and serves as both a memoir and a recovery guide. Esther's work focuses on helping others reclaim their voices, identities, and peace while fiercely protecting their energy and time. And with the holidays coming up and all of their stressors upon us, Esther is here to share how we can stay true to ourselves, protect our peace, and manage the overwhelm. Welcome, Esther. It's so great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Gretchen. Thanks for inviting me onto your podcast.
It is my pleasure. So, so much going on in the world. We've got the recent election, global events, not to mention that the holiday season is around the corner. A lot of people are feeling more overwhelmed than ever. What would you say are some practical coping strategies for people to find a little bit of calm amidst all the noise and the stress?
I hope this is a helpful answer, but I think right now is a critical time to focus on the ways that you take care of yourself. Self-care, which is a phrase I'm not fond of. I wish I had a better way to say it. However, it's so important, and there are neurological reasons for this. A lot of people are feeling threatened by what's going on. And when we feel threatened, our emergency center, our amygdala part of the brain starts to take over. And your prefrontal cortex is literally shutting down. It's sending resources, like if you feel like you're under threat, the resources are going to go back to survival. So the job is to calm yourself down and to bring the feeling of safety. So whatever it is that you need to do that, I think there are some bullet points that are really important, like your social context, the warm, fuzzy, loving people in your life are really, really important right now.
Absolutely.
I think the basics like sleep, nutrition is really important. If you're having trouble eating, you might want to find a way to find things that are easy to ingest at the moment. Someone else has been driving this home for me because I've been struggling like everyone else, right? But your passions, the things that feed your soul, if you're an artist, if you're a musician, if you're into sports, I don't care what it is, keep doing it.
That's so important. During the holiday season, there are going to be a lot of people who are alone this year, maybe perhaps due to the loss of a loved one or, very challenging family dynamics. Do you have any advice or comforting thoughts that might help people in these situations find peace and meaning during this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing is if you are really able to kind of sit with the emotions that are coming up, which is hard, trust me, I know I'm having myself,
Absolutely.
you really, and not just sit with it, but find a way to process whatever it is. If it's loneliness, maybe it's journaling, I don't know. Maybe it's something physical, maybe it's a visual art, or maybe there is, in fact, someone you can call. I think for people who are spending the holidays alone, I mean, maybe you can find some peeps that you can connect with in some way. If you do, I think that's really important. But I also feel like um, if the holidays are you solo, I don't know, I guess it goes back to that self care thing. Like, what is it that you need to do on this particular holiday? Like, we have Thanksgiving coming up, right? Um, where you're calming your nervous system, you know, like what really think about it. Like, what are the things that can make, excuse me, make my day somewhere between manageable and maybe meaningful? Manageable might mean like, I'm going to spend the day watching bad movies, order a pizza, you know,
Right.
So it's really like exploring that within yourself. If you can be intentional and set up the holiday so that you're not abandoning yourself, right? You're like, I'm taking care of me through this difficult period.
I mean, another option, I don't know, it depends on how the person is feeling about this, but I know that there are a lot of organizations that offer volunteering experiences. You know, if you feel like you want to be around people or community, that might be another way that, folks can sort of get out and do something meaningful, but they're not around the family type of stress situations, or maybe they're not feeling so lonely because they're in a community or in a group. Do you think that that would be something good for people?
Yeah, it's something that I think about that. And I think for some people that might be really great. Like get out of yourself and go connect with a group that's providing services, a Thanksgiving dinner for homeless people, or little kids who don't have a place to go, or something like that. That could be really, really helpful. And in fact, just in terms of the political landscape, things like that will become really important.
I think that community is going to be such a huge focus and could really help a lot of people not feel so alone.
Isolation and loneliness make humans really vulnerable. We're not wired for that. While I want to honor everyone's introvert extrovert quotient, um, if being alone is really making you feel alienated, that might be a really nice way to go. Like, okay, I'm going to get out and do this thing and focus on it. Connect with other people who may or may not become people in your life. We don't know.
Doing something in common with other people, even if it's not like, hey, I'm going to meet you for coffee a week from now or whatever, but just having that common goal of accomplishing something and then working as a team to accomplish it and sort of, put yourself in that situation if you're feeling lonely, that is. Just a nice way, I think, sometimes to get into a community spot and not feel so isolated.
Well, what's interesting about this, Gretchen, is the neuroscience backs it up. Like, not only, is it kind of anecdotal, like the research is showing that it's other people who regulate our emotions. And if you are joined together in a cause, that furthers the regulation. You feel like I have meaning,
Right.
a place to be. And really, it's very interesting because I wish I was a neuroscience scientist these days. I'm not, but they're seeing in MRIs like the parts of the brain that light up in regards to certain situations. It's tricky, of course, if you're going into a situation where you don't know the people, but it's worth a try. I think if being alone is going to be too activating for you, if it's going to feel too lonely or too scary, it's worth a try. Go work with some animals at the animal shelter. Good pet therapy is good, right? Like any
Right.
dog or a kitty, that's going to help.
That's going to bring a smile to your face, I would think. There are people who may be considering skipping a holiday event to avoid conflict or protect their peace. But and I know this happens a lot with people, is that they worry about disappointing others, or they're facing pushback from the people that they say, like, hey, listen, I'm going to opt out this year, I want to kind of do my own thing. Do you have any ways that people can set boundaries or create a meaningful celebration of their own?
Yeah. So I feel like there's kind of a range that we're covering here, right? So let's start with you. You are a person who's like, I simply can't go to Thanksgiving with my drunk uncle or something. And there's pushback and guilt from the family. But you are determined. You've decided no, right? Like I often recommend something that I call the guilt experiment, where you're like, the headline is you don't let guilt make a decision for you. Okay. You're going to feel guilty. You see the cloud coming, right? It's really hard to tolerate. And you're like, all right, I'm going to get guilt. I'm going to give you 20 minutes.
Ah, okay.
Set a timer and find a way to process that guilt. Like maybe it's in a journal, maybe you call a friend, maybe you take a walk, but you don't act on it. Give it time, and you don't make any decisions until after that cloud has lifted. Because at that point, again, the nervous system has calmed down, and you probably are going to have more clarity and about how to respond, you know.
Right.
So let's say you're like, I don't really want to go. I'm just going to the other end of the spectrum. I don't want to go, but for whatever reason, the family dynamic would really blow up. In that case, I think you've got to set up boundaries. You know, here's the time frame I'm going to be there. Here's the excuse I'm going to give, and maybe social contacts that while you're there, maybe there's a friend you can text. Give yourself breaks while there. Like, oh, I need to go out and take a walk. I think this is a little easier said than done. And obviously, if I'm working with someone over time, it's more of a conversation. You have to remember it's okay for other people to feel uncomfortable. You don't have to, like, maybe they're unhappy with you.
Right.
You do not have to make sure everyone is okay with you, because it's actually impossible. You can't go that way, I have plenty of people in my life who decided they don't like me, and it's been hard for me, right? But I have to let it go. Like, that's not my problem.
That's right. If someone does find themselves at a holiday gathering and they're confronted by the obnoxious relative who teases them, bullies them, asks really intrusive questions, yeah, I think our listeners probably understand the type of people that we're talking about here. But do you have any recommendations for handling situations like that gracefully while also protecting your peace?
I think, this falls under a column that I call less is more. Okay. Be prepared with some pat responses in your back pocket. Okay. One would be, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. It's okay for you to say, yeah, I'm not comfortable talking about that. If someone's getting in your face, like, say, shoving their political opinions in your face, there's a really, really simple phrase that I learned from a conference. I will tell you the conference story in a second, but it's, I don't agree with you. It's something that I learned from a conference I was at, an International Cultic Studies conference, and one of the presenters is this guy named Bill Goldberg, and Bill's very well known in the field of cult recovery. He and his wife Lorna. Anyway, he did his session and he took questions. Right, it's a conference, and in the center of the room there was a microphone, and people would walk up to the microphone and ask their question, and he would answer, and then they'd sit down. Right, and then one of the participants walked up and lodged a complaint about the organization. So I was like, how's he going to handle this? Like, she could just hijack the whole session. And he said, I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't agree with you. And then he took the next question.
Shut it down.
And I was laughing with him once because, we've gotten to know each other a little bit. Because I told him, I said, I don't remember what your session was about, but that's what I took away. And he was like, oh, Esther, I don't even remember that happening.
Right.
Like, line up some things you can have in your back pocket. That personality that's, antagonistic, it's bait. It's like, I'm baiting you. And once you take the bait, it's just, you're falling down this rabbit hole of a really stupid argument or justifying yourself for a choice you've made. It's not their business.
You're not explaining, you're not going into an argument, you're not engaging. And I'm assuming just repeat them. I mean, if the person keeps trying to goad you, like, well, what do you mean? I don't agree. Let's move on. Okay, I'm walking away from this conversation.
Yeah, you can leave. Like, practice your free choice. That's a really self-empowering muscle. And if you need to take care of yourself, you need to take care of yourself. Like, your ability to have compassion or to really listen is not freely available to anyone who wants to download or goad you into a fight. it's just not. You need to like protect it. And if you're feeling uncomfortable or triggered, it's like, I'm really not having a good time. So I'm going to go. In fact, sometimes it's your best choice. And, I want to say, I know this is not an easy thing to do. Um, but it's an option that's there for you if the situation feels intolerable, you can decide to protect yourself and leave.
And is there anything else that I did not ask that you think would be of benefit to the listeners as we navigate this holiday season and everything going on? Or just sort of a wrap up of, things for people to really remember during this holiday season?
I guess to bring it back to the self care thing, kind of the headline, right? I think, particularly right now, it's really important to calm that nervous system down. And you do whatever you need to do to get in your body and in present. That's when we are the most effective. So it's going to be a different kind of set of tools for every person, but I think like the common denominators are the social connections again that you trust that we mentioned, and then really, really basic, like if you're having trouble sleeping, try to address that. Making sure that you're eating, getting out for walks so you're outside. So you also, like the neuroscience backs this too, like our eyes actually need to see different environments. Physical movement, exercise in whatever way is always good. So, like, those are some really, really simple bullet points. And I think, if you're a person who's going to be around antagonistic people, bullying people, maybe you want to write down your list of pat phrases.
Yeah, I was going to say you could put them in the notes app on your phone, and if you're I don't know what to say, look at your phone and there you have it.
Yeah, because in the moment, it's going to be hard to remember, especially if you have. I've been practicing this right for years. It's still hard to remember. So if this is brand new, you need all the tools that you at your disposal.
And actually, music is a wonderful, wonderful way to calm yourself, I think. And Esther, you are part of a group called The Secret Sauce. And your group is actually going to be performing at Club Passim in Cambridge on the Sunday after Thanksgiving, December the 1st. Can you tell us a little bit about the show?
Well, it's funny because we're kind of billing it as recover from Thanksgiving. Come join us.
I
um,
love it.
and I think the trio is really one of my own go-tos for self-regulation, right? Like we love music. It's myself and Jackie Damsky and Janet Fell. And there's something really healing about singing together. And music brings community together. I guess those three elements might be, in and of itself, kind of a reason to come and just try to like connect with the community. And you know what? There's one more neuroscience thing that I want to toss out. I'm not, these are like the things I'm picking up from the trainings I have to take because clinicians have to continually do continuing ed, which right now I'm grateful for because the neuroscience wasn't available when I was in grad school. But people doing things in sync helps regulate. So music, right? Dancing, it's another thing, right? But so I guess I just offer this because we'll all be sharing in the listening or the singing of, and joining together for that reason. So I hope people can join us.
The show is The Secret Sauce at Club Passim, which is at 47 Palmer Street in Cambridge, Massachusetts, down in Harvard Square. December 1st, as I said, it's a 7 o'clock show. Is that correct?
I believe so. I should know, but I don't.
Yeah, and then so tickets are available at passim.org. Again, that is passim.org. And the cool thing too is that, if somebody who's listening to this podcast from far away, if they can't attend in person, Passim does a live stream of the concert, which is really super cool. It's just for a really small fee, I think like $5 or something like that. And you can watch the concert online. So, like, escape into a room with your laptop or your phone and, you know, shut the world behind you, and you can listen to some really great music and be in community with other people because you get to see, the music happening. You see the show. And it might just be a little bit of a stress reliever for people. Club Passim is a wonderful, wonderful concert venue, and they do a lot for the community. And it's just a wonderful, special place. And if you can make it to this show in person, I strongly encourage you to do so. The secret sauce is amazing. And, again, if you live far away, you can tune in through Passim's website for a small fee, and you can watch the live stream, which is really great. And also, Esther, I did reference that you have a book called The Gentle Souls Revolution. And, could you tell us just a little bit about that and then where people can get the book?
Well, the book is available on Amazon. Yeah, there's an audio version as well as a printed version, and of course the Kindle. It came out of what I like to call my 5-year misadventure in this crazy group called school, which was of course a cult, because of course. And I had this vision, when I started writing, of like using my experience, so it's part like memoirs or really just vignettes, and then analysis, because after I left the group, I obsessively researched, and then a recovery section for each chapter, because some of the things we talked about are in here, or things I formulated after that misadventure, where I said to myself, okay, there's a profile of person who's really very vulnerable to these manipulative, coercive groups, and nobody speaks to them. Nobody speaks to gentle souls protecting themselves. I started coming up with these things that have worked for me. I based it on myself, but also like other people that I know who just feel really yanked around by the world. And it's like, well, you know what? Just because you're empathetic or you're empathic doesn't mean you're freely available. So I just hope that, those three things the readers find helpful in their own, whatever would draw you to that book in your own recovery.
It talks a lot about your experience being in this particular cult, but I mean, this is very practical advice for anyone, I feel.
Well, the interesting thing is when you look at cults and narcissistic abuse and coercive control, it's really all the same dynamic. It's like there is this template for abuse. And if you know what that template is, at least you have the information to identify, oh, that's not cool. And then hopefully, some of these tools help you navigate around circumstances that could get very ugly.
And again, the book is available at Amazon. You've got the paperback, you've got the audiobook, you've got a Kindle book. And then you also have a website, which is gentlesoulsrevolution.com. Let me repeat that. It's gentlesoulsrevolution.com. You can read more about Esther, what she offers as far as therapy. She also does a lot of blog posts, which are very timely. And offer a lot of wonderful information. Esther's music is on there as well. You can find out more about Esther and her book and her mission for gentle souls and to help gentle souls, again, at the web address gentlesoulsrevolution.com. And I just want to thank you again, Esther, for coming on. I really appreciate your time and sharing your wealth of knowledge with our listeners.
Well, thanks for having me, Gretchen. This has been fun, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to Notable New England. I want to send a big shout out to Esther Friedman for joining us today and sharing her invaluable tips on mentally preparing for the holiday season. And don't forget to check the show notes for a complete list of my research sources, music used, and links that are mentioned in the episode. I'm going to be back in 2 weeks on Sunday, December the 8th, with a special episode packed full of holiday and winter experiences you can enjoy right here in New England. You can think of it as an ultimate guide to celebrating the season in true New England style. Now, before we go, I do have one last request. Let's show the world how amazing New Englanders are. Please go out and do something kind for somebody this week. Don't publicize it. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just go and do something on the down low. Whether, you're standing in line at the coffee shop and you buy a coffee for the person behind you, or maybe that neighbor who lives down the street from you, who lives all by themselves and doesn't have anywhere to go on Thanksgiving. Maybe you invite them over to your house for a meal. Or if you want to honor Arlo Guthrie, if you see some trash on your street, pick it up, throw it away. Small acts of kindness like that really do make a huge, huge impact. And we need a lot more of that in this world, let me tell you. So let's keep showing the world why this place, New England, and the people who call it home are wicked awesome. Thanks for listening, and I'm going to see you back here on December 8th. I'm really looking forward to it. See you then.